How did she get to school? Grandma Nell, you're talking about... Yeah, Grandma Nell. Okay, how did she get to school?
Well, they lived... They're
One more time.
they lived on a little...
Oh, this is a great shot.
They
This
lived
is
in a
a
little
great shot. Man!
They
Yes.
lived in a little farm, and they had to either go horseback or walk to school. This was in the wintertime.
Right.
And no socks, but they would walk
Wait a
along.
minute, no
there.
socks in the wintertime?
No socks in the winter. No socks. Well, they were out of socks. They just wore shoes or boots if they had them. But a lot of the kids down the road didn't have any didn't have any shoes either, so they had to go barefoot. And they would go down the cow path. The cows they would all go out and down this one path to get to the field for the graze for the day. And there was slim pickings in the wintertime. Well, these kids, honest, Scouts on it,
The big three.
would run so far and then they'd have to stop and warm their feet. Even if they were in their big shoes, they'd have to warm their feet. So they got stepped on and stepped into the cow pie.
You're lying.
Which was
Freshly
hot.
dropped. Just freshly
Cow pie
dropped.
was warm because it's body heat right out of the cow.
Right. Isn't that something?
But the sad or the bad part about that was for the teacher.
Yes.
Because when they got to school, the trough, the horse trough, was froze over. And so they really couldn't wash themselves properly like they would. But no, they have to go into school on that one big old pot-bellied stove. And when things started drying out,
Yes.
you can imagine
Yes.
that other story you know about your grandma, where she had to go to the bathroom and they were driving out southern Utah in the wintertime.
Yes.
Old touring car, and she had three brothers and they were in the car with her.
Yes.
She got out, or they said they had to have a stop,
Yes.
peace stop, so they got out and went out of the car. And she wasn't going to go out in that cold stuff. The boys had an easy time of doing it. They had their easy thing, that they could.
The plumbing deal.
Yeah, they had the better plumbing. So what did she do? The old touring car, she pulled up the floorboards.
What?
The wooden floorboards, they had them in those touring cars. And she sat down there.
Are you serious?
But what she did, she weed right on the manifold.
Oh my gosh!
And it came up and steamed her.
Oh, you're serious? So there was some pain.
It hurts me now.
Were
Steamed her.
you in the vehicle or just you heard tell of
I
this?
heard tell of it,
Yes.
and it steamed her. But she put everything back together, and the boards on the floorboard, and the brothers come back in, but all the way to Vernal, Utah, which was probably another 40 miles.
Yeah.
They kept complaining about this odor that they couldn't stand. And the newer home, which was across the street,
Yeah.
this is an oasis.
Yeah.
We could watch the women go out to the outhouse. No inside plumbing then, but they go out to the outhouse. But they always waited. I don't know how they could wait so long, but they did. Till the other one had to go at the same time to go out.
Go together?
A 2 or 3 holer, and they could sit and talk together.
Oh, visit. Where was this at? Where was this at? Where was this at?
Oasis, Utah.
Do you remember using a two-holer yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you look good, Nita. Life is good.
Tell me about your mother's cooking. Do you recall a favorite meal?
Oh, yeah. Cake on Sunday.
Oh.
She baked a cake on Sunday from scratch. It's the only time we had real good refreshments, and that was cake on Sunday.
Wow.
And then she made delicious snow ice cream, where it would just, you go out and get the snow, and it was nice and clean.
She'd use snow?
Huh?
She'd use actual snow. In the
Yeah,
wintertime, you mean?
in the
Yeah.
wintertime.
Yeah.
And whip it up with, I don't know what she put in it besides sugar and vanilla, but made snow ice cream.
Wow.
Delicious.
Okay.
But you had to get it when it was
Wintertime.
brand new, because in Salt Lake City, everybody used coal, and it wasn't but a night gone by, and all the snow would be black over the top. actually, our first job, we were picking cherries out in Centerville, which was north of Salt Lake City. It's a big cherry orchard, and we lived right there in this open bunkhouse. My brother and I and my cousin.
You lived there?
Yeah, we stayed there all week.
Yes.
And the folks would come and pick us up.
How old were you?
Let's see, it was about maybe 14.
Wow.
14.
That's before that wall.
Well, the downfall of that whole job was the boss had a candy store inside this place, and we could buy candy and goodies, and never had canned pop at that time or not, but we could buy these candies. And I worked there, and then we'd have cherry fights. Kids would be in one tree and we'd be at ours, and we'd throw these cherries. And you know, a cherry stain stays on your clothes.
Right.
Mother knew that. Well, anyway, when Dad come to pick me up, because he had me a good job, and he said, and oh, he was mad, because he went in, and I got, for the whole week's work, because I shopped at the country store, I got 45 cents for the week.
Because you spent all your money.
45 cents, yeah. But then he took me to my real job, the first real job. And this was downtown for the Shell Oil Company, the Shell Oil Station, and this is when you wore all whites and a white cap, or a hat that black bill on it. Boy, you felt really proud to put all that stuff on. Said Shell Oil across here.
Pumping gas?
Yeah.
Pumping gas.
White shirts, black pants, white hats.
Everybody pumped gas. When you'd pump gas, you'd run out there and you'd wash the windshield.
Yes.
You'd sweep out the inside of their car, check their oil, check all their tires, just for a couple, 3 gallon of gas. Well, anyway, he asked me, because I was hard work and everything, he had a truck that he was greasing out in the back, but this truck was too big to put on the rack. They didn't have a hoist rack, they had to drive up on it. He couldn't put the truck on there, and he had to change the oil. Oh yeah, I could do that. So I went out there, and what I did, I changed the transmission instead of the oil. Way beyond full.
Oh, you filled the crankcase and drained the crankcase and the tranny.
Filled it with new oil. So I went back, and I went into the boss, and I said, I've got something wrong. I said, that oil is still dirty and it shows way over the full mark. So he glared at me and he come back out and went out and checked that. And he said, don't move that truck. So he righted my wrong, but before he did, he fired me.
Wait, did you feel the transmission?
Fired me, and I had to go take off my
No,
wife.
he filled the
You had to go up to pick up your wife?
Take off all my whites and turn my cap in.
Oh, you're kidding.
I was so upset. And you know, that ruined my whole year.
Yeah.
Because this is my big job. Oh boy.
Is it while you was home?
Oh, that's about the time your mom,
Is it really?
your grandma, my mom, went down to
Your dad and one of
California to pick up my wayward cousin and her family and bring her back, and she was hit by a big fruit truck and rolled them over at Barstow, California, and she was killed.
This was your mom.
My mom.
She died instantly?
Yeah. No, you roll over. All the kids were packed in this car of hers. It was a big car, and the kids were laying on top of all this bedding and stuff, and all of her gear was underneath in the back seat. And Mother and my cousin Maxine and Mom was driving, and her husband. She went down to get her away from him, but she brought him back with her. One of those things. And
Oh, repeat that. She went down to get who away from who?
she went down to get my cousin Maxine away from Bill.
Got it. Just helping out.
Just helping out. She was always helping out the kids. And in Barstow, California, had this wreck, or the truck ran into them, and they rolled the car over, and the third time it rolled over, the door opened and she slid out, and then it just crushed her right through the pelvis. And she lived for about 3 days, just long enough for us to
Were you able to see her?
drive down to see her. And she just, my sister and I were there. My brother, I don't know where Willis was, but she died that night.
How old were you?
Let's see,
13, 14, I'm thinking. No, older.
older.
Oh, you were? Okay, because you had moved out. So 17, 18.
I think it was 18.
Okay.
I have to figure it out.
Coolest thing you remember about Mom? Your mom. Just if you could describe her.
Oh, because she was a beautiful lady. She was a dietitian, and I loved her work. I loved to listen to her sing with Dad, because they could harmonize.
Ah.
They did a lot of that.
Ah,
Mom played the piano, and
she did. Your mom played the piano.
yeah, and she worked so damn hard to take care of us kids, because most of our life we were living with Dad or living with Mom. They split up.
Yes.
And so we were, but Mom she worked hard. She worked hard. She worked for the St. Mark's Hospital in their kitchen, and that's the West Salt Lake City.
How old was she then, you know?
How old was she when she died? Because you were 17, she was probably what, 50? Not even that.
47, I think.
47. Looking back in life, what one thing would you have done differently?
Where are you gonna stay, Fairville?
I really, the answer for that is, I don't think I could have done anything different.
Good.
I can appreciate everything that I have done,
Yeah,
and what I've accomplished,
very good.
the family I've had.
Very good.
Nate Roundy, and he was my buddy, and every year I'd get down, he'd wait for me, and we just loved each other. And he was a farm boy and did everything on the farm, could ride a horse like a cowboy and rope, and he went into service with me, but he died, he never come back.
How many jobs did you have in Forks? Bees and...
Oh, yeah, I was a beekeeper, I was operated the restaurant, I was a faller. Well, at one time I was volunteer fire department, run the restaurant, and I worked.
Projectionist.
What?
Projectionist.
Projectionist, yeah, for the local movie house. And what else? Oh,
Logging?
working in the woods.
Yeah.
Working in the woods. When I came up here after I got out of the service,
Are you writing down?
I just fell in love with the Northwest and the woods. And I started and I went through everything from a choker setter to working on the landing. Then I went into bucking. That's the big saw. There was no power saws in that time, and we would use the old Swedish fiddle and or Danish, and buck the logs into in different lengths, 40-foot lengths usually. And then some old timer just talked me into, because I looked so skookum, you know, handsome and big muscle and everything, wanted me to go forward. So we set up as a couple, and then you go hire out as fallers, and you fell timber together, because we had these trees that were 6 foot through, and you had to board up on them, what they call board up. You notch a hole in and put a springboard in, they call it, and you had to dance on that thing while you're chopping in the undercut in the tree like so, and then you'd back it up with a saw, and then it would fall in the direction you wanted it to fall most of the time. I worked for the shale oil company.
Were you able to wear your whites again?
F. Fisher, Paul Fisher was owned the Shell Oil Company, and I drove his oil trucks. Also, I was a club manager at the Legion Club. I attended bar then too, and then I run the club. And another job I had, I owned a skating rink which was in the American Legion Hall. And during that time too, I was American Legion commander for a year also.
So how would you describe yourself in closing? Howard Hanson, people person, for one.
Oh, and a family man.
And a family
I
man.
love my family.
Right.